And hello once again. Welcome to this wonderful, wonderful day. Why is it a wonderful day? Because truly we see it as the day that the Lord has created, provided all things for us, that we might walk in a liberty where Christ has set us free. Today is July 19, 2023. This is recording 550, entitled, God Is. God is. What came ye out to see? When you came into the wilderness, what did you come to see? When you heard about John the Baptist, when you heard about this man called Jesus Christ, what did you go for? That's the question that only we can answer. But when the answer comes, it is, as God calls it, the tree of life. Why is it the tree of life? Because it lives eternally. It doesn't have a season, okay? It doesn't need anyone to prod around the roots. Doesn't need fertilizer. It is complete within itself. It is the tree of life. In other words, you have found God. You have found that which your heart is seeking for. I recall in a previous conversation with someone, they had told me that they didn't know how to feel, and yet me contemplating that over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I realized you are feeling. Because if it has you seeking, you are feeling something, and it's that invisible feeling that's drawing you, putting the desire in you to know. Most of the major spiritual realizations of this world have lost what I would call their dynamic appeal, because they're being taught as like a physical type thing, something that you go through. And then at the end of it, you receive some form of reward. Whereas the masters that lived before us all experienced, showed forth the realizations of this experience, and then recommended, suggested, highly commanded that we follow their teachings, that we should be where they are. Now, where are they? If you think they're in some distant city, you've missed it, because what they're saying is that their consciousness has raised to a level that they wish you to be on that conscious level where they are. I and my Father wish that you be where we are. What is the Master saying? I can't speak from the other major religions or spiritual realizations, but from the Bible, Jesus is saying, I reached a level of understanding where I understand as that which I call God understands. Therefore, I and my Father are one. And therefore, I have received a revelation from the Father that says he wants you, his creation, to be on that same level. Paul even went so far as to say that I might present you spotless before him. Well, what is spotless? Without fault, see, without limit. So, if any man was to perceive the actual undisputable knowledge or realization of God, you would have to come to the understanding there would be no fear. There would be no dissension. If you realize God, there would be no fear in your life. There would be no dissension. And then immediately we look at the Master who walked the earth. Now think about it. At the time that he walked the earth, he was the only one. There was nobody else on the earth that believed like he did. And he walked amongst thousands of people daily. And he had no fear of anyone doing anything to do with him, because he had reached the level of understanding that the Father is always with me. And wherever the Father is, I am. And wherever I am, the Father is. You see, of all the seeking that you're trying to accomplish in this worldly experience, that is the pearl of great price. That is the one thing that you discover and then you hide it. You don't run out and tell people that you found it. You hide it. But the scriptures say that he hid it, and then he went and sold all he had and purchased the whole field. Please get rid of that picture of somebody going and selling their house and selling their cars and getting rid of their property. That's not what he's talking about. He's saying he sold it all, which means that he pushed aside what he had believed to be the reality of this world and came to live in that field. To live in that field. And as a side note, for any of you who may want to kind of see what that field looks like in a physical plane, I encourage you to go look at a quantum physicist by the name of Greg Braden, Braden, and they have scientific proof of a field out there of photons moving around and standing at attention when you look at them. And you say, well, how do I know I'm looking at them? Well, you have to look through your consciousness. When you look within your consciousness and realize that God is, those photons stand at attention and say, well, what do you want? You see, God truly has placed all things within our hands. The pearl of great price, the jewel invaluable, the one understanding that all life and all living is centered in. Now, just look at a picture now that you are not separate from that which created you. You are closer to it than you ever thought you might be. It is all around you awaiting your recognition. It already knows what you have need of, and it's already filled, and all it needs is your recognition. Because your recognition of it being there is the fulfillment of it providing for you. It does not need you to ask of it, because it knows that you are already the substance of what it is, and it is the substance. Now we see omnipresence, don't we? God is everywhere. Now, the realization of that which comes to your conscious awareness, that's your ticket to move throughout this world regardless of what is coming against you or what someone is saying. You simply agree with thine adversary while you are in the way. What is? I agree that you are there. But if you are anything abhorrent or negative to the truth that God is, you must dissolve. You must go back to your creator. Okay. How many creators do we have? Just one. So it can't go back to God, can it? So therefore it must go back to that which created it, and that which created it does not have a concrete foundation to stand on, so they must accept it back, and will probably accept it back with what? Consequences. To seek a power that overthrows all other powers, man is sought out, but to his dismay, he cannot rest in what he has found. I'm going to say that again. To seek a power to overthrow all other powers, that's what man is looking for. He has sought out powers. And each year, we come what? A president with a different agenda, a mayor, a governor, a school board, banking. You see what I'm saying? They're always looking for something. And when you look at the bottom line, it's always about making money. I don't care how they tell you it's good for you. It's all about making money and surviving. And what has God said? Take no thought, for I am with you. So man cannot resist cannot rest in what he's found. He says the words. You can go to any church, any spiritual foundation or, apparatus out here, and you will find them repeating the words of truth. But when the fire comes, when the storm comes, they're not able to stand. Why? Because those words have not penetrated their conscience to the point to where it's spoken back and says, be still. And that's what you're after. You're after those words. You're after that feeling that says, be still, for I am. I am God. Speak the word, but be still and wait. Wait on what? Wait on the confirmation, because when it comes, the scripture said it comes and it brings its reward with it. It'll steal upon you like a thief in the night. Just like yesterday, late at night, I was just sitting there thinking, and all of a sudden it hit me. Wait a minute. Why in the world would God create a universe such as this and fill it with all of the chaos that's in it and put us in it? And it came to me, God never created that. You see, we were created in his image and in his likeness, and it's up to us to be still and understand that we might be like Jesus. As he is, so are we in this world. So therefore, whatever we're looking at and we're giving it respect, better be careful. Better be careful, because God did not create a world for man to suffer in, or for man to suffer through many, many mishaps until he comes to the realization of who he is. No. The very first book of Genesis explains creation to us if we're willing to look. And God said, let there be light. That light is understanding. When that understanding comes, it says you will be confronted with chaos, but what do? You will begin to decree things and watch them come into visible expression. Why? Because you have understood the very first line in Genesis. What is it? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. What are you doing there? You are giving authority to God and to God only. That's the only way that we can go about creating, as Job said, you shall decree a thing and it shall come to pass. Man has not dwelt in the process of recognizing the presence of God until the promised rest comes to him. Or as the church calls it, the blessed assurance. Can you imagine speaking or singing blessed assurance, Jesus is mine, and you're at each other's throat before you can get out of the church because you're upset over how someone is dressed or misdressed, or so-and-so only put X amount in the offering plate, or so-and-so is stealing money behind closed doors. You see what I'm saying? We have to live in that process until the word confirms to us who we are. When the word confirms to us who we are, we will either be moved from that body, or the body will change, or the person who is instigating will be removed. But the bottom line is we should not be upset because we are living in the presence of the wholeness of God. All spiritual lights of the past have achieved this phenomenal understanding that with it, they were enabled to undergo unbelievable ordeals with their confidence unshakable. I know you understand that. You may not want to go through these ordeals, but the only person can tell you of the horrors of war and how they made it is someone who was on the battlefield. I can read about it, I can talk about it, and I can hear people talk about it. But that person, even if they made it out without an injury, they actually saw They actually heard the bullets. They saw the bombs. They saw people getting killed. What happens when you go through the experience of going through an ordeal and understanding that the presence of God is with you? Can you imagine Moses standing at the Red Sea with Pharaoh and his chariots barreling in on one side, the Red Sea on the other side, and the desert filling up all the other space? And he has the confidence to look at the people and say, behold the salvation of the Lord. Glance at these Egyptians for the last time, for you shall see them no more. That was not a request. You see? That was a declaration of independence. And what happened after that? We're told that the sea parted and stood up. And over 600,000 men, plus women and children, traveled through. Now, we need to think about the fact that the bottom of an ocean is not flat and smooth. Okay? You need to understand that. So how were they able to take chariots and goats and pigs and hogs and you name it? Maybe not hogs because it was an abomination, but think about it. And it says they went, and then Pharaoh traveled in with his army and chariots. You see, it's a total understanding of the presence of God. That's all we need. How it expresses itself visibly, we just stand back and watch it happen. What then is God? Only those, get this now, only those who enter into a sincere relationship with the All can have this question answered, and then would still not be able to reveal it to someone else who God is. You understand that? Only someone who enters into a relationship with, to seek after God and then finds God, only that person would be able to know God. For when they come out of that relationship, what I mean by come out is when they come among us, we the people, and try to explain that they know God, this person out here is not going to believe it. You say, well, why wouldn't they believe it? Did they believe Jesus? Come on. Jesus looked at them and said, if you knew who God was, you would know me. And he said that to the religious leaders of the world. And all we have to do now is look out here at our religious leaders and look at how they are treating one another and look at how they are treating those who are finding God. And they can't recognize that they're acting in the same manner as those in the Bible acted. And yet you that have found God can see clearly that they are acting exactly as the Pharisees and the Sadducees. But if you were to tell them, even though the Pharisees and the Sadducees had animosity toward each other because one believed in the resurrection, the other one didn't, what did they do when Jesus came on the scene? They came together to persecute truth. Man does not want to know God. Jesus said they hate me because I testify against them. I testify against the darkness that they live in. Well, if he testified against it and they got upset, what were they trying to cling to? The darkness. They had things dwelling in them that they didn't want to let go. What? It says they dressed themselves in robes and they walked and they caused the people to bow to them. You get my point? They didn't want to turn that loose. Why couldn't they turn it loose? Because they didn't know who God was. They didn't know that God loved all and that God would share everything, all the goodness. They wouldn't lose the goodness that they had, the good things. He says, wealth and riches will be in your house. Well, I don't have to set out to bring wealth and riches in my house. I only need to be convinced of what? That God is. God is not that which we form as a warrior, a protector, and so forth, that we call on to do our bidding, but the infinite intelligence residing over all spiritual affairs. That's the kingdom of heaven. It is by a process that we enter into this relationship that we might become aware of all that is reserved for his creation. The Holy Scriptures tell us what? Eye has not seen, nor ear heard what God has in store for them that believe in him and that are called according to his purpose. How many are called according to his purpose? All. So that means then that when you turn your focus, whether internal or externally, toward the truthfulness of God, you are called. Because it's not you that's turning your focus, it's God that is calling you. Jesus said, no man cometh unto the Father except through me. And the world took that as though he was saying, a man. No. He's saying, through this conscious awareness that has called me, every man will come through that consciousness, and God will welcome every man into his presence. That his presence is everywhere awaiting recognition. Please keep that in mind, especially when you're feeling low, especially when you're feeling down and discouraged. We must remember one thing. What? His presence is everywhere, and it's awaiting one thing: recognition that he exists. And it is standing, resting in qualified assurance. Those who come unto me, I will in no wise cast out. See, we must keep our attitude lifted in an altitude, even though our immediate appearance may be discouraging. Don't be discouraged. God is not mocked. Why? Because whatsoever a man sow, that shall he reap. So if I just keep sowing upwardly, I have to reap upwardly. There is never the need to ask God for anything once you found it. Yeah, but no, go read that again, Matthew chapter 7. He's saying ask for the understanding. Ask for the presence of God. He didn't say ask for a car, boat, or a plane. Ask for your appliances or ask for bills to be paid. It says ask for the presence. Because if the presence knows everything that I have need of, would it not provide some things that I don't even know that I need? Wouldn't it provide them before I am even aware? You see, that's how important it is to sit and contemplate the truth of God, that this understanding, that's what you're after, is the understanding. You're not after a specific thing. You're contemplating the understanding of God, that no matter what, you will turn there first. You will turn there first. Now, this comes with time. Don't let me stand here and tell you you can get it in 5 minutes. It is possible. There are very few people that have gotten a complete revelation of God in 5 minutes. But most have to go through years. We looked at Moses. It says Moses went 40 years. Paul did somewhere between 9 and 13 after he knew all of the scriptures. Elijah, Elisha, they went for periods of time. And even Jesus went for anywhere from 18 to 30 years before he received the revelation. Buddha, I think, went something like 21 years. So the bottom line is, it's not something that we go to grasp immediately. I would love it if I could get it immediately. But it's devotion, true devotion that reveals that God is. It is the truth that is held in conscious awareness that resonates out into the visible. You have to hold the truth that God is, even if the only truth that you know is God is. If you didn't know any other truth, but you truly believe that God is, then you could contemplate God is, and that God is would open up and begin to reveal you the laws that run this universe, and that revelation would begin to solidify your visible experience and show you to be blessed, while others are thinking you are fortunate, lucky, and in the right place at the right time. But you will know better because you know. Only those that see God know that he is and is a rewarder of all that diligently seek him. There is no competition. There is no competition. None of us can get there before anyone else. For in reality, we all are already complete in God. It's just our awareness is coming alive. Being all that God is, God can only give what is of his nature. Okay? My brother and I was discussing this earlier today. Did anybody ever stop to think that it says that Adam and Eve were punished and put out of the garden, right? And yet it is being taught that God won't put any more on you than you can bear, right? And to our knowledge, Adam and Eve still have not been given forgiveness. They still have not gotten back in, and yet it's being taught that God forgives. And all through the scriptures it says, and yet his arms are open and his hands outstretched to forgive. But Adam and Eve, do we pray for them? God, please let them back in. No, because the story is an allegory. The story is a story that lets us know that a man can make the wrong decision, a man or a woman, and end up on the wrong side of truth, but God's arms and hands are always outstretched to receive him back. That being said, that God can only give what is of his nature, we sit with a subject in mind. What is the subject? God is. Nothing else. God is, because we want the realization that God is. That's all we want. Then we allow God to do the work. The truth that we hold consciously will reveal just what we believe to be true. God is not mocked. He has given his total ability over to his image. What is God's image? I am. I am. He has given all authority. Son, thou art always with me, and all that I have is thine. Look at the power that's in your tongue. Look at the power that you're carrying. And as you go around describing this outer scene, look at that's your prayer. There's nothing wrong with going, when that guy just hit so-and-so. Don't go any further than that. That guy just robbed so-and-so. Don't go any further than that. Why? Let God have the judgment, the righteous judgment in that situation. Don't go, I wonder why he did it. So-and-so should have done this. Don't go there. Leave it in your conscious judgment of righteousness. Remember, God is. God cannot deny himself, nor can he withhold that which, wherever anything is, it must be yours. Don't say, I wonder why he didn't give it to me. Look at your prayer now. No. It is God's desire that we bear much fruit. So it does not matter what it appears that we're looking at. Always we remember what? God is here, the fullness of God here. And as Paul said, that you might be filled to overflowing with the fullness of God. No, nothing is ever happening negative to God's creation because God is his creation. Did y'all get that? Nothing is ever negatively happening to us because God is the substance of everything that has formed. So for it to be happening to God's creation means that there is something that has more power than God. See, now you see what I'm saying, how we must get this in our contemplation, but it must become more than wordly statements. God has placed all things in your hands, in our hands. Therefore, all suggestions, whether positive or negative, are being suggested to God. Please understand what I just said. It appears to you and it feels to you that something is being suggested to you, but if the same spirit that raised Christ from the dead dwells in you, and all is spirit, there's one faith, one Lord, one baptism, if all then the suggestions are being made to the Spirit, are they not? And what right did God give a suggestion to make to him? Think about it. I am God, and I'm God alone. He is the substance of all that has formed. Even the principles, gases, formulas, you name it. So we are actually doing what? Living in a world filled up with our Father. That's it. There is no us in this world. For there to be a us, we would have to be what? Separate. That's duality. Jesus said, I and my Father are one. Like I told you last week, you can't take water out of water. You take H2O out of water, the water disappears, right? What else disappears? The formula. So we need to understand God is all-inclusive of himself. Everything you are looking at, seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing is a characteristic of a spiritual entity, intelligence, that loves itself. Except in consciousness that God is all, and all is God. Because you have known this truth, you have also known his name. What does the book of Revelation say? And I will put a new name in your forehead. Isn't that what it says? He didn't tell you to go out and tell people what that name was, did he? He said, I'll put it in your forehead. What's in your forehead? But thoughts and remembrance and knowing. So you would know, wouldn't you? You would know all things because of the name that God has revealed, and where he reveals that name, there is true freedom. That's what we're going to talk about next week. True freedom. I think it's next week. It might be, let's see here. No. Oh, yeah. Yeah, experiencing true freedom. That's what we'll talk about next week. True freedom. Wherever the presence or truth of God is recognized, there he is. Now you can see why a lot of people are being hurt, harmed, and endangered in this world, because even though they may believe that there is a God, they do not believe in God. Because if you believe in God, you believe that God is. See what I'm saying? And when you believe that God is, what also do you believe? That he is a rewarder of them who diligently seek him until they come to a realization that he is God and he is God alone. He is in the midst. This is the only truth that is to be celebrated. God is. God bless. God bless. God bless. Now let's have a little meditation. God is. There is nothing but God. For in the presence of God, there is liberty. Therefore, I am liberty. In the presence of God, there is peace. Therefore, I am peace. In the presence of God, there is security. Therefore, I am security. In the presence of God, there is love. Therefore, I am love. Wherever the presence of God is, I am there. Wherever I am, the presence of God is there. What shall separate me from this love? Shall heights, depths, widths, shall past, future, shall life or death? No. For the understanding that God is has set me free. Has set me free to experience the laws of liberty. Oh, I said that, didn't I? Where liberty is, I am. God is. I and my Father are one. When you see me, you're looking at the Father. When I see you, I am looking at the Father. I and my Father are one. Oh, the joy that fills my soul, for I have found a pearl of great price. Where that pearl is, I have found myself. I am that pearl. I will look to the left, no. I will look to the right, no. But I will be still and know God is.